Hey everybody, welcome to the Inner Revolution podcast. Today we're talking about something that not a whole lot of people talk about, and something that you've probably never even been taught growing up, which is this idea that you don't have to believe everything that you feel, and you don't have to obey every single thought that just pops up inside of your head. Isn't that a crazy thought? Most of us were never told that these thoughts that we have from time to time may not actually be thought or facts. These thoughts are not facts. Feelings aren't commands. Yet in our day-to-day lives, we live as though both of those things are true. We think, oh my gosh, if I'm feeling anxious, I must be anxious. If I feel depressed, I just must be the most sad person in the world. So today I want to give you permission to challenge that and to realize that that actually may not be true. I want you to walk away from this episode knowing that you are not your thoughts and you are not your feelings. You are the one who observes them. You get to choose what you focus on and how you focus on them. Now, can you actually stop any thought from popping inside your head? No. The answer is no, you can't. And anyone that says you can control these thoughts, bogus. Totally bogus. You can't. But you can choose at any given time to focus on what thought you actually want to focus on, or focus on what feeling you want to feel. But before we get into this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, which is Anovo Counseling and Wellness. Anovo is a clinic based out of Utah who specializes in sex addiction, betrayal trauma, self-worth, couples disclosure, and even lie detectors. If you want to start off therapy in a way that is essentially a clean slate, if you don't believe your partner, the lie detector can be a great tool. A lot of people think the lie detector is for like criminals, which I mean, sure, it could be used for that. But a lot of the times for Anovo, it's used as a way to actually start with complete honesty, which is key when it comes to working through addiction. Anovo also specializes in things like anxiety, depression, OCD, and things like ADHD. So if you're someone who is feeling like they may not be enough, like you don't have any worth, or you struggle with things like anxiety or depression, you can click the link down below in the description to schedule a session with Anovo, or you can actually text the phone number down below as well, and we'll get you hooked up. All right, now let's jump into the episode. So, you guys, I want to just challenge this idea that your thoughts or your feelings aren't real. I think we buy into them way too much. We put way too much weight on any given thought or feeling. If one day, for example, you wake up and you start to feel sad, generally, if you put a lot of weight on that feeling, you might think, oh my gosh, I think I'm actually depressed. I need to go see a therapist and get diagnosed. I might actually be depressed. When in reality, you may have just eaten like crap the day before and your sleep was subpar. Or above subpar? Above. This is golf. We don't want to be sub nothing. We want to be in the positives, if it's bad anyway. So back in the days of the What About Therapy podcast with Austin, we would always quote another podcast. I totally forget what it was. It was some Star Wars podcast. Bless you guys. And they would always say things like, it's not that deep. And so Austin and I would say things like that all the time. We would say, it's really not that deep. We put so much weight on how we feel, or these thoughts that pop into our head like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really anxious right now. I must have anxiety. Or I had the thought to go watch porn, so that's what I'm going to go do. Or because I had that thought, I am now an addict, I'm a terrible person. It's like, whoa, dude, relax, slow down a little bit, take a step back, gain some perspective, and realize it's not that deep. At the end of the day, evolution has wired us for fear-based thinking. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be helpful. Come with me way back 1,000 years ago, whatever. Let's see, we don't know about 1,000 years ago. Cavemen times, thousands and thousands of years ago, whenever that was, okay? When saber-toothed tigers roamed the earth, mammoths stomping around, okay? As humans, we needed a way to actually protect ourselves from unseen dangers. What if you and your family are out harvesting some berries? Beep, 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 beep. I'm picking berries, as you can hear. Pick, 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 pick. And then all of a sudden, a saber-toothed tiger jumps out from around the corner, snatches your family, and now you're all alone. So rather than that actually happening, the brain decided, all right, dude, let's prepare for something like that, right, in case that actually did happen. So I'm going to make you a little extra precautious as we're out picking some berries. So then if a saber-toothed tiger does come out, you'll be prepared for it. You fight him off with your stick, your fire, and you take them out. So then your family's safe, you're safe, we can go back and eat our berry pie. Now fast forward to the present moment, saber-toothed tigers don't exist, thankfully, even though I still have a little bit of anxiety around that myself. Saber-toothed tigers don't exist, mammoths no longer exist, but what does exist is this part of your brain that stores things like anxiety. Now, at the end of the day, this anxiety, or your brain in general, is just trying to keep you alive. That's it. Your brain's not trying to keep you happy. It's not trying to keep you confident. It's not trying to help you dream really big. It's trying to keep you alive. So when your brain senses some type of uncertainty, it's going to start firing off all these alarms, pew, 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 to make sure that, hey, dude, I don't want you to go out there and hurt yourself. I want you to be safe. We need to stay alive, brother. That's what your brain has been designed for. It hasn't been designed to take all these huge risks all the time. But uncertainty isn't dangerous. Anxiety isn't prophecy. A feeling is just a signal. It's not a verdict, right? A lot of us, too many of us, I mean, me included, treat those feelings like an actual verdict. Like when it comes to things like heights, right? Or like rappelling. I remember I went rappelling years ago with my family, my brothers and some friends. It's freaking terrifying, dude. It's so scary. But as you actually start acting and you trust your gear and you start rappelling, you're like, oh man, this is actually really fun, right? For the most part, of course, your palms are still a little sweaty and, kind of scary, 300 feet in the air, but it's still overall really fun. The scariest part of rappelling is always right before, right? When you're all up here, all up in your head. And we buy into this idea that, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall down. This rope is gonna snap because I'm too heavy, right? All 120 pounds of me back then. When it's really not that deep, dude. You're just gonna start walking backwards with your rope and you're gonna be okay. So if you ever get to this point to where you're feeling a certain way and it's hard to unhook yourself or diffuse yourself from these thoughts, pause for a minute, think, okay, I'm having this thought, right? Observe it, name it, and then choose. Is that a thought that you want to focus on? If not, change it. You can. Now that doesn't mean that that thought you have, that fear of falling as you're rappelling, is just going to go away. Because it may not. But that's okay. That doesn't mean you have to focus on it or stop what you're doing. See what I'm saying? You can feel something and still choose differently. For example, I wake up really early to go to the gym. My alarm goes off at 5 a.m. Most days, if not every day, I feel like sleeping in. I don't want to get out of bed. Now that it's getting colder, dude, forget that, right? I feel comfortable. I feel warm. I feel like I want to keep sleeping. But I force myself to get up, get out of bed, and go to the gym. And I have never in my life regretted waking up and going to the gym. Even though in the moment, sure, it was hard, super hard. But I didn't regret it. I chose to go regardless of how I felt or regardless of those convincing thoughts that come into your head like, you can just go tomorrow. Or if you missed today, you can go over on the weekends since I take Saturdays off, right? So common excuse is, I'll just go Saturday. All those thoughts come into my head as my alarm goes off. But guess what? I get up, and go do anyway, because it's not that deep, dude. Remember, common diffusion exercises is to do things like thank your brain, like, oh, dude, I appreciate the thought that I want to sleep in. I know I'm comfortable, but I told myself I'm going to go to the gym, so I'm going to go do that. But feel free to come along with me. Remember, you are not these feelings, you are not these thoughts, you are simply the observer. You are experiencing all of these. You are not them. It is not that deep. If you have a thought of a really sad thought, let's say, that makes you sad, you can feel those feelings that are accompanied with those thoughts. And when you're done, you can choose to focus on something else. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't things like depressive disorders or anxiety disorders, right? Because there are. A lot of the times, though, especially nowadays, we tend to think that we have depression or anxiety disorders when we are just actually feeling those feelings. When you may just be feeling depressed, that is okay. When you're feeling anxious, that is okay. It is not that deep. You don't have to sit there and mope around and think, oh, man, my day just can't get any worse now because I'm just so anxious and depressed, all these things. When in reality, my brother, my sister, it's not that deep, okay? I don't want to say this I don't want you to think that I'm just brushing all these feelings off and saying like, forget them. Because some of those feelings are legit. They're real. Most of them, though, I will argue, are not. They're not worth your time. But yet, you seem to make it so. You seem to buy into this idea that all of these thoughts have merit. All of these thoughts have weight. And that's just not true. The more you do that, the more you are setting yourself up for pain, for discomfort, and just overall sorrow in life. Really. People we're finding that are resilient through hard times tend to take their thoughts lightly, which means they don't brush everything off, right? If there's a legit concern that comes on up here in the head, it's like, oh, man, okay, if it's actually legit, sure, give it some time. But a lot of the thoughts that you have are not going to be that way. And so take them lightly, take them with a grain of salt, and choose to focus on something else. Now, with all of everything we just talked about, action precedes motivation. Take the gym, for example. Dude, I am never motivated to go to the gym at 5 in the morning. I'm not. But I go anyway. And I'm at a point now where it becomes automatic, at least as my body becomes automatic, and it does what I've been doing for the past couple of months, which is going to the gym in the morning. I just kind of get up and go. That doesn't stop my thoughts from saying, oh, just go another day. That doesn't stop my body from feeling comfortable, right? But I've learned to just go, and my body helps me do that automatically now, with creating a habit. So you're not going to be motivated to do a lot of things. In fact, you're not going to be motivated to do most things, especially when it comes to things like addiction recovery with pornography. You're not going to want to do the things that are going to help you become the person you want to be. That's it. You're not going to be motivated to do that stuff. Because odds are, you've been watching pornography for years and years and years, maybe even decades. And so your brain's gotten in this flow of things. And so when you start to try and break that flow, dude, of course your brain's going to be pissed off. Your brain's going to say, dude, what are you doing? We created all of these habits to make your life easier. So you don't have to put in so much thought or energy to do these things or to think about what to do next. We do it for you, dude. And that doesn't mean it's helpful, right? But your brain is trying to keep you alive and expend the least amount of energy possible. And so as you start to go against that, you are going to have this guy, the dictator within, push back hard. And so you're never going to feel motivated. You're just not. Sure, you're going to have some days where you feel pretty motivated, I'd say. Let's just say you're not going to feel motivated consistently. There you go. Because you can listen to maybe this podcast. Maybe you're hyped up right now, like, oh man, I'm going to change. Or you can listen to another hype video or read a book that gets you really excited and motivated. And then the next day, what happens? You PMO. You find yourself exactly where you started. So you need to start taking action regardless of how you feel, regardless of what you think. If you want to become the person you want to be, you have to act. And you're going to receive a lot of pushback from yourself. That's the truth of it. When it comes to becoming the person you want, when it comes to becoming the person who is free of addiction, addiction is just a pattern, it's a habit you've fallen into. Your biggest barrier is yourself. That's it. It's you. But thankfully, the brain is super plastic, right? Meaning it can change over time. And so as you continue to act, as you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, just like the very thing that landed you in addiction in the first place, which is the same repeated action over and over and over again, you can change. You can become the person you want. If you don't want to be watching porn, okay, what does that look like in your life? Does that mean no phone? Does that mean no phone at night? Does that mean you have to get up and move? Does it mean you have to go exercise? Does it mean you have to read more? What does that look like for you? And then you have to act every single day. Is that easy? No, of course it's not. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is, I need to feel ready before I start. Bunch of bogus, dude. When you start, eventually you'll feel ready. That is something that you actually work up towards, not something that just appears one day. Like when you get a good night's sleep, that's not going to happen, dude. Readiness is this mirage. It's fake. It's not real. Confidence comes from doing regardless of how you feel. It comes from doing something before you feel like you can. Action is going to lead and emotion is going to follow. Stop getting caught up in this question of, do I feel like it? And start asking the question, who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? And let that question then guide your next action. This question of, do I feel like it, is going to keep you stuck for a long time, if not forever. Because you know the answer, right? You're never going to feel like it. Especially nowadays, we are getting so comfortable in everything that we're doing, right? We've got freaking ChatGPT to give us answers to really anything that we need. We don't need to think about anything. We have all of these things happening for us automatically now with all of our, there's no real effort we have to put in, and we get comfortable really quick, and it's hard to break out of that. And so when it comes to breaking things like addictive patterns, you're never going to feel like it. You're just not. That's the reality of it. And so you need to ask yourself, who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? And if that person is a long ways away or has a lot to do, then you have your answer of what you need to do to get there. I believe that, honestly, if we think about it, if we stop and we think, which is doesn't happen nowadays, if we just stop and think, you know what you need to do. Deep down, you know. It's just finding the courage to actually take the first step to doing it. And if there's courage, there's also what? Fear. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not feel like you're ready, because remember, readiness, it's not real. Mirage, fake, doesn't exist. You're never going to feel ready. This is something that we've, at least me anyway, have grown up believing, right? Like when I'm ready, I'll go and do this thing. When I feel this way, I'll go and do this thing. What does that even mean, dude? That's not reality. That is fake. That is something that we have grown up believing. And so listen, dude, if there's one thing you can get away from this episode, it's you can choose the type of person that you want to be. You can choose who you want to become. Just because you feel a certain way, or just because you have this thought that you're a washed up piece of crap addict, whatever it is, it's not that deep. Those feelings may not actually be true. Most likely they're not telling the actual reality that you live in. This thought that you are worthless, it's not true. It's not. Your worth is 100%. Your value is never going to change as a human being, as this person that you want to become. It's never going to change. It's always 100. Now it's all about stepping into that confidence, and finding the courage to take the first step into becoming who you are and who you want to be. Okay? You can do it. Find one thing this week, or even challenge or look at one of your thoughts that you have. Maybe it's the thought of, I'm worthless. And really ask yourself, is that true? Like, really? And remember, it's not that deep. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you next week. Peace out.